This is Adrian Aguilar from Letsplore on Me, Myself, and I Radio.
Good morning, good afternoon, hip hip hooray. This is Me, Myself, and I Radio, a self-discovery podcast. It's all about being extraordinary under extraordinary circumstances. I'm your host, Anthony Hayes. Welcome to the journey called life. Let's go.
Sometimes in life, things can come across as rather odd or often peculiar, a little like the way that you decide to tune into other radio stations other than ours.
So hard last night, my lids are swollen. Got my guitar, gotta get to a studio. Got a track and I think it's gonna hit, yo. It's been so many years and there's been so many tears, and it's gonna be well worth the pain. See, when all my people line up to see me.
If you enjoyed that introduction song, that is Love Struck Robot coming through again with the tunes, this time with Do It All for the Dream. Head on over to lovestruckrobot.com or download that on iTunes right now. All right, this next guy helps people find meaningful work. He does this through career coaching and his podcast, Letsplore. Letsplore helps millennials figure out what they want to do with their lives as it relates to passion, self-improvement, and mindset. Everything we talk about on Me, Myself, and I. So this is going to be great conversation today. He also has a Facebook group, which a lot of people are using these days. They're absolutely incredible. If you're not doing so, I highly suggest you getting one started up for yourself. And in the Millennial Mastermind community, members help one another in regards to personal development and our professional lives. Adrian Aguilar, let's get into Me and Myself and I, shall we?
Let's do it.
Awesome, man. Most interviews I've heard, most other people that I talk with, they always want to know where you came from, where you were born, how you got to where you're at. I like to do things backwards. You decided to become an entrepreneur in the past 6 months. Did that say about six months is really when things started rocking for you?
Yeah, I mean, the idea for an entrepreneur has been in my mind for at least 3 years, but I finally took action on June 30th. That was the last day of full-time working for somebody else.
Wow. So that had to be a big leap of faith in you. And there was a lot of, I'm sure, fear involved and the stuff like that. What was going through your mind at that time?
I was just miserable. I wasn't challenged. I didn't like waking up and going to work, and, it was actually giving me a headache because that's how much, working for somebody else just wasn't for me. Trying to become an entrepreneur or wanting to become an entrepreneur for 3 years. And I decided to pivot into a product manager position because that's exactly what they do. They're mini CEOs of product within their organization. They research the market, they come up with ideas, they build that idea and turn it into a product, and then they launch it and then they promote it. At the end of April, that's when I had the idea of a podcast. I was like, you know what? Yes. I've been on this path of self-improvement for 4 years now. It all started when I met, a friend early on in 2013. Needless to say, her mom and her family changed who I was and how I thought. But the first question that she ever asked me when we first met, and this is my aha moment, that experience, yes, that event that happened, she asked, Adrian, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? I looked her dead on in the eye, as honest as possible. And I said, I'm going to be a professional skydiver. I'm going to get sponsored and get paid to do what I love. And at the time, that was my thing. Like extreme sports was my thing. And she looked at me.
Wow.
Yeah. And she looked at me for about 7 seconds, right? She said, have you ever thought of opening up your own skydiving school and getting paid to do what you love? And that just blew my mind. I was like, and then from that point forward, it's just been mentored, coached, listening to podcasts, reading self-help books, reading articles, watching motivational YouTube videos. So I knew podcasting was the first thing I wanted to do. I wanted to help others who were in the same situation I was in. and I didn't know quite how to monetize my business. I just knew I wanted to start a podcast. And then I started thinking, you know what? I've had 8 jobs in the last 4 years. I am really good at finding work, interviewing, negotiating my salary. I should help others do the same. So that turned into career coaching as well as the podcast. And that's exactly where I am today. I'm doing both of those while I'm also writing a book, because like I said, I just want to be anything and everything. So, on my resume it'll be
you want to be your own brand, and
that's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. I'm building my personal brand. I'll be speaker, author, podcast host, entrepreneur, consultant, whatever you want to call me, but I want to do it all. So that's exactly where I'm at. I'm only 3 months in, so I'm looking forward to what the future has in store for me.
Yeah. Wow. Oh man, 3 months. That's like, you're like fresh off the boat, for as far as, personal development is concerned and self-awareness, because you're just engulfed in that world and that mindset right now. So it's safe to say that you had a great support system, making this pivot in your life, huh? With your friends and your and everybody that's surrounding you, or would that be true? Or
not so much, to be honest with you. Like, I ended up having that support system after the fact. So when I went to go talk to friends, family members, and even, coworkers and my previous manager, for the most part, the general consensus was, what are you doing with your life? Like, why would you quit a steady income position to pursue something that may not pan out? You're going into the unknown. You're risking your quote unquote career for something that isn't set in stone, right? You're not going to have a monthly income that's steady that, you can still survive off of. It's going to have its roller coasters, and ultimately, hey, it may not pan out. And, it hurt a little bit, especially coming from closer friends or family members. But I just learned what they think about that situation is completely different than how I think about it. And, they've never gone through that experience. And coming from a Hispanic background, we're all about hard labor. We just work to provide for our family. And I just decided to take a different route. And ultimately, my question back to them is, well, what about if it does work out? What about if I am successful?
See, that's that mindset shift, man. That's such a powerful thing. Powerful thing.
It was, and that's the problem with a lot of people nowadays, is they always think about the negatives, what they cannot do instead of what they can do, or what will, what they can become. That's kind of where I was too previously, a few years back. It's like, well, can I start my own company? Am I smart enough to do it? Do I have the skill set necessary to do it? And nowadays it's like, yeah, I'm smart enough to do it. Yeah, I have the skill set to do it. And yeah, I know it will be successful. But ultimately, I had that support group when I found other people with the same drive, the same ambitions. And a lot of it came from Facebook groups. For one, like the Podcast Discovery Center, I had no idea how to create a podcast, right?
I've never heard of these guys. Tell me more about them.
So the Podcast Discovery Center is ran by 2 amazing people named Scott Doucette and Anthony Hayes. But, you guys are there to help out anything and all things podcasting. And, I have a technical background. My background is in IT. That's my degree. So I know how to.
That's what it sounded like. I could, when you were talking earlier, I was going to say, you went to school for this, didn't you?
Yeah. So for me,
talking
right,
about support and everything like that, I was like, oh, okay. You got it. You got to figure it out. That's awesome, man. I wish I had that background too going into this. But,
yeah, so software is my thing, right? But still, it takes time to learn anything, right? And yeah, I may learn software faster than others, but still. And that's when, I took the help of Podcast Discovery Center, PDC, and, I started asking questions, and that accelerated my learning curve, and I got there faster, and I launched in a month and a half after I quit work, and now I'm 20 episodes in. But, you have to align yourself with people who are in a similar journey with you, who have the same aspirations, the same drive as you, because that's what's ultimately going to make it easier. If they understand exactly what you're going through, it's going to be easier to help each other out than someone who doesn't know what you're currently doing, what your career path is.
Yeah. I mean, you have to, in order to be successful, you have to surround yourself with successful people, and not only just successful in a materialistic way, but successful in a perspective sort of way. And I've found a similar, journey myself, really, because I had no idea what I was doing. And some days, honestly, I still don't. But at the end of the day, I've like you, I've gotten involved in some of these communities. I've attended conferences, and I've made friends and networked with so many amazing people doing so many amazing things, authors, professional fighters, people from literally all walks of life. And just having those people around me, just seeing what they could do actually inspires me to better myself. Nobody in my family knows anything about what I do. In fact, it was funny actually the other day. My mom was like, can you explain to me what the hell is going on, and what is all these, because she has Facebook and she'll jump on every now and again and she'll see these things and the book coming out and the show and these guests, and she's like, you're interviewing so and so, and she knows people's names. She's like, how did you get them? Like I'm talking to this an author that I like coming up pretty soon. When she saw that, she was like, oh my God, you're going to talk to Marie? I was like, I'm going to talk to Marie. She's like, how does this happen? She's like, you have to explain this to me. And that was a pretty powerful point where I felt I was kind of leaving everybody out, sort of thing. It was like, okay, here's me, visualize this, sitting in my room, in my closet with my microphone, recording and talking to, in some cases, myself, and other cases, other individuals halfway across the world. And it was like my little paradise to get away and kind of explore things. But now that I've done a lot of, self-discovery, it's causing me to want to bring people into our world and to see what we do and spread the message. I think a big contributing factor to that definitely was Podcast Day this year. Spreading the word and just letting people know about what podcasting is, all these magnificent people out there, all these entrepreneurs, and that you can listen to them and suck in their knowledge on the daily, 24/7, 365, and just, getting that spoken medium out there. It could really inspire and help a lot of people. The more and more that I talk to people, the more and more hearing from them I was able to discover about myself. So that's how the show kind of it's evolved, at first I was just talking about, I went to lunch today and I was listening to this great song by this artist I love, you should go check out this song. And then I realized that after a while it was kind of just more of a personal journal. So I was like, how can I kind of shift this and talk to people that really inspire me and kind of take their knowledge. I could talk to them, and then maybe the next episode I could reflect on it. And that's where kind of just, it's spitballing, every week it's kind of like, oh, well, I'm going to do a 5-minute Friday episode. That sounds cool. And then, next week we can talk to, let's talk to Adrian this week, or let's talk to so-and-so next week. And then by learning about them and their journeys, it's like, we're in this together, man. We're deep in this lifestyle that is, the hustle and the bustle. And there's so many people out there just like you and me that are trying to do the same thing, and being able to talk to them and spread our messages, I think is really important for them. It's really important for them to hear, but not only that, it's therapeutic for us to get our message and our thoughts out there into the world, Yeah,
it definitely is. I mean, now that I'm here, it's like, I want to do the same that my mentors have in the past, right? Is provide value without expecting anything in return. I just want to see other people successful as I'm going through that journey as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, man. That's, and that's what starting up the podcast community, that you referred to earlier. Thanks for the plug, by the way. That's where that came out of. Cause it was we were sitting there and, Scott's an entrepreneur, and I work, and I don't necessarily do this as a full-time, for monetary purposes, but we still had, even though we came from two totally different concepts and like backgrounds and perspectives of what we wanted to get out of this, the goal was still the same. And it was just weird. It was so selfless. And then it opened up doors for us. We met people, we found great guests. We met you launched your show, and with the help of, I think, did you actually work with Scott on that?
I did, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Towards the end, I know. I remember you said, yeah. So it was just, it happened on a whim by accident, but it's evolved into such a beautiful thing that, like, we just are looking what we can do next with podcasting and with, the podcasting community. That's where we're at right now.
Yeah, and it's also a great compliment to any business, right? Not necessarily just my business, but anybody who is out there who has whatever kind of business. I mean, you hear marketing podcasts, right? And you also have coaching podcasts. Even then, you can podcast about anything, right? It doesn't have to be professional. People talk about movies, comic books,
Yeah, man.
As long as you're having fun doing it, that's all that matters.
Oh man, so let's back it up a little bit. So this is present day. This is me and you at present day. And then what are some things that you learned there about yourself and succeeding and failing in your career and your ultimate goal of today, of being an entrepreneur?
Just to rewind it a little bit, let's go back 8 years. So I started college in 2008. First thing is, I go in there and I'm like, what should I major in? And my brother's like, do accounting. So I was like, okay, this naive, not knowing what I wanted to do. And so I took accounting, and that's in the School of Business. And I did it for 2 years. And as soon as I took, what do you want to call it, lower division classes that were in accounting, I was like, this is crap. Like, from that point, I transitioned into computer science. So math and science, that's my jam. Like, that's my mojo. That's what I'm good at. I don't want to spend 4 years in college again. I was already 2 years in. So I quit. I just, in the back of my head,
threw in the towel like that, huh?
I just threw it in. I didn't necessarily think to myself, oh, I can't do it. Like, I'm not capable of doing it. I just was just like any other millennial. I was impatient. I was like, I don't want to spend another 4 years for a total of 6 years in school. I want to get out of here as quick as possible. Like, I college really wasn't my thing. And so I went back into business, and I went into IT, information technology. But even then, man, throughout this entire process of college, there was times where, going back to my extreme, athlete, extreme sports type of days, I was like, why am I here? Like, ultimately my goal is to become, it changed all throughout. I was like, a professional snowboarder, a professional, like rally car driver. And then ultimately it's like a professional skydiver. I was like, what I learned in school and college, it's not going to be beneficial to what I really wanted to do. And there was times where I literally wanted to give up. And ultimately there was one friend that actually pushed me through, and it's like, you know what, continue on. Like, at least this could always be your plan B, or even then your plan Z, And so I stuck with IT. I still graduated in 4 years, and nobody really else knows this besides like friends or family, like really close friends. But I graduated with like a 2.05. Like, I barely passed. Yeah. And ultimately that's all I really wanted, because I didn't see as if like this degree was going to benefit me in the future. And ultimately that's how I think about it. It's just a piece of paper with my name on it, but it looks great in society's eyes. And at that point I was like, all right, what should I do with my life? I can't seem to find a career that I like, something that I love to do. And I ran into a Craigslist ad that said, teach English in China. I was like, well, I never studied abroad. I love to take risks, obviously, from, skydiving, doing every other extreme sport. So right. I was like, yep, I'll volunteer. I'll go teach English.
Wait, so you're telling me right now, this is the funnest part about talking to people that you do know. I know, a little bit about Adrian, but finding out, like, we just open up a entire can of worms, and like, you listener are like sucking in this story, because this I'm sure that there's stuff besides the calculus and the skydiving. I'm sure there's other stuff that relates to you directly. because we all haven't gotten those areas of expertise. But I've always wanted to skydive, haven't done it. So you're telling me right now that you packed up and moved to China?
I did. If I can't find a job, I'll just go to China, right? I definitely recommend your listeners, if you want to try something new and you don't know where to start, obviously it's always good to get comfortable being uncomfortable. But a lot of people don't realize that English is a skill. It's a skill in every other country besides America.
It's a wacky language.
But everybody wants to learn English. That's the thing, right? You go to Europe, people are going to be talking to you just because they want to learn and practice their English. Well, if you go to Asia, same thing. So English teachers around the world are in hot demand. And I didn't realize that until I got to China. But yeah, I got to China and I just arrived in Shanghai and I'm like, holy crap. Like, I don't know the language. I don't know what to eat. Panda Express is not Chinese food, by the way. That's a side note. But it's like when you get there, you really know what Chinese food is. And I'm like, man, how am I going to learn like the language? How am I going to adapt? And the best way to do is just to throw yourself in there.
Adapt, man. You hit a nail on the head. Sorry to cut you off, but that was a key word right there. You adapted. You got right in there and you made it, what it was and what it became for you. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's exactly what happened, right? I'm like, all right, well, I don't know how to get around. I don't really have a cell phone because I don't have no one else to talk to. Like, why would I get a cell phone? Because I don't know who I'm going to text, who I'm going to call. And then the food tasted different. So I went to restaurants and bars where I got to know and meet Chinese people, like, natural born.
That's so great. Yeah, man. You threw yourself right in there. You mix it up with the people. I love that. And that's a true test to today because you're still doing that, finding those people, finding those connections. And, that right there just basically wrapped your whole story around to your me, myself, and I elements, man, as far as I'm concerned, because you had that passion within you all the time, and it was just a matter of unlocking it. And that aha moment you talked about earlier definitely set, it just really was that last little kick in the ass that you needed to really make that strong pivot. And that's like, wow, man, you're blowing my mind right now with all this. But along the way, would you recommend to the listener, some resources? What were some books and stuff that really, really helped you hone in on that whole self-awareness that we spoke about, that whole mindset shift?
One's called The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, which ties into entrepreneurship, but the basis of the book is pivoting. When something's not working out, pivot. And you can pivot 1 degree or it can be 180 degrees, right? But that, whether it's a small change or a big change, can help you in your journey and whatever you're doing. And then there's also The Startup of You by Reid Hoffman. Amazing book. Definitely recommended. Reid Hoffman, if you don't know who he is, guy who founded PayPal, and now he's also a co-founder of LinkedIn. But this book ties in exactly to what I'm doing, what I'll continue to do. And that's, again, just going off the Lean Startup, is being able to adapt and be resourceful in the ever-changing world. And also what's key to that, and we talked about it earlier, is networking.
Alone we're strong, but together we're stronger. And this is the culmination of your entire story, your me, myself, and I elements. This is bringing it all the way back to the me elements. We've covered myself and I. What you, Adrian Aguilar, would you tell your 21-year-old self?
The thing that I would tell myself, and this is what I'm actually like writing about in my current book that I'm going to release soon, is have an open mindset and see life from a different perspective or perspectives.
Beautiful. How can people connect with you?
Yeah, definitely. The easiest place to find me is on my website, inspiredbyadrian.com. My name's spelled Adrian. and you can follow me on social media. My handles are typically either inspired_Adrian. That's on Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. And then on Facebook, I'm at Inspired by Adrian. But all that information you can find on my website, as well as my podcast, Letsplore, which is also on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play.
Adrian, thanks so much for coming on Me, Myself, and I Radio today. And we look forward to everything you have in your future.
Tell me what to do. I mean, that's